You know how it is in recruitment. Some deals, they just feel like they're destined to succeed, right? And then others, they just fall apart and you're left scratching your head wondering why. Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful framework that helps you take control of all that chaos and make your whole process way more predictable. Come on, we've all been there, right? That feeling, everything is just perfectly aligned. You're feeling good, the candidate is buzzing with excitement, the client is totally on board, and then poof, silence. The whole deal just evaporates, and you're left sitting there thinking, what on earth just happened?
But here's the thing. What if I told you it wasn't just bad luck? It wasn't some kind of mysterious force working against you. What if it was something much simpler? A failure in your process. Think of it like this. A door that you thought was shut tight was actually left unlocked, and that's what allowed all that doubt and uncertainty to just creep right back in.
Okay, so this really gets us to the heart of the problem, what I like to call the chaos of closing. We've got to ask, why does the way we usually do things so often fall flat? And more importantly, what's the secret sauce that separates the absolute top performers from everybody else? Look, on one side of the coin, you've got what I call the hope and pray approach. You're just relying on your personality, maybe a bit of momentum, just trying to drag that deal over the finish line. But the best consultants, they don't do that. They don't rely on hope. They rely on something way more powerful, a rock-solid, structured process that actually gives them control. So the big question is, how do we get that control? Well, the way we do it is by completely reframing how we look at the entire process. And we're going to use a super simple, but trust me, incredibly effective analogy. Let me introduce you to the corridor. I want you to just picture this for a second. The entire recruitment process, from the very first call to the final offer, is just one long corridor. And every single stage, every milestone is a door. Now, here's the crucial part. If you want to move forward predictably without any nasty surprises, you have to make a point of locking each one of those doors behind you as you go. And these doors are the stages you already know, right? It all starts with the briefing. Then you've got the submission, the interview, the feedback stage, all the way to that final offer. Every single one is a critical checkpoint that you absolutely have to secure. So why are we obsessing over locking these doors? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, just look at the difference. When a door is left unlocked, that's when alignment starts to slip. That's when motivation suddenly nosedives. And that's when those deal-killing objections pop up out of nowhere at the very end. But when a door is locked, bam, you got clarity, everyone's expectations are aligned, and you get that beautiful, predictable forward movement. Okay, that's all great in theory, right? But how do you actually lock a door? Well, it's time to talk about the keys. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the specific techniques you're going to need. So the very first key is a new take on an old classic, ABC. But here, it doesn't mean always be closing in that old-school, pushy sales way. No. It's a mindset. It means always be confirming. You're constantly checking for alignment and intent at every single stage. Let's take the candidate side. A perfect lock-in question is something as simple as, if offered, would you accept? Now, this isn't about putting pressure on them, not at all. It's about getting clarity. It's designed to force any of that hidden hesitation out into the open so you can actually deal with it. And just like that, you've locked the candidate interest door. And of course, there's a version for the client. You use this one right after the briefing. You ask, if I find someone who meets this exact criteria at the salary we agreed on, are you comfortable moving quickly? See what that does? It locks in their commitment to the process. It confirms you're on the same page about the spec and the salary, and it gets their buy-in to act fast when you deliver the goods. Boom, the briefing door is locked. Now, this second key, this one is so important because let me tell you, most deals don't die because someone has bad intentions. They die from a simple lack of information. They die in the silence. So the key, it's over communication. Honestly, silence is probably the single most dangerous thing in a high-stakes process like this. And here's the simple reason why. When there's a gap in communication, our brains are hardwired to fill in the blanks. And let's be real, we almost never fill those blanks with positive thoughts. We fill them with assumptions. And what happens to those assumptions? Well, they curdle. They turn into doubt. The candidate starts thinking, are they still even interested in me? The client's over there wondering, maybe there are better people out there. And just like that, doubt starts to quietly poison the whole process. And that leads us to a simple, kind of brutal truth. Doubt kills. deals. Period. But the crazy thing is, this whole destructive chain reaction is completely preventable. The only antidote is proactive, transparent communication, even, and this is key, even when the update is just, hey, no update yet. All right, our third and final key is a discipline I call pre-closing. This is all about proactively hunting for problems. You're looking for potential issues before they have a chance to blow up into full-blown deal breakers. Your mission is to get those objections out in the open early. And this question right here, this is your best weapon for pre-closing. Is there anything at all that would stop you from moving forward? It's so direct. It's an open invitation for them to just tell you what's on their mind. Think about it. An objection that comes up early is just a conversation, but an objection that stays hidden until the very end, that's not a conversation. That's an ambush. Okay, so let's flip this around for a minute. What happens when we don't use these keys? What does it actually look like in the real world when your corridor is just full of unlocked doors? I bet some of this is going to sound familiar. You know, when the candidate suddenly says they need more time to think, or the client wants to just see a few more profiles. How about when salary expectations magically shift at the last minute, or the notice period becomes a huge issue? All of these last-minute headaches, they're almost never new problems. They are symptoms of unlocked doors. That candidate needing more time, that just means the motivation door was never really locked. The client wanting more profiles, the briefing door was left wide open. You're not fighting new fires. You're dealing with the ghosts of past mistakes. But hey, the good news is, all of this, it's completely avoidable. So let's wrap this all up and bring it together into a clear, actionable plan you can start using like tomorrow to build your own path to predictability. Here you go. This is your checklist for the very next recruitment process you run. Number 1, always confirm alignment before moving to the next stage. 2, lock in those timelines with both the client and the candidate. 3, make a habit of asking those pre-closing questions. 4, give proactive updates, even if there's no news. And 5, get those objections out in the open and documented early on. This is how you build real control. And that brings us right back to the beginning with one final question for you. This isn't just theory, right? This is a call to action. I want you to think about a process you're working on right now. Be honest with yourself. Which door is unlocked? Which one really needs your attention? Because that journey from chaos to control, it all starts with turning a single key on a single door. So which one will you lock first?